you are a classically unscripted guy. But in this world, on a lot of really difficult social issues, people tend to read from scripts because they're worried about things that might come out unintentionally in what you say, that you don't say it the right way. How do you manage to remain so unscripted on some of the most difficult issues out there?
Well, yeah, I've often said that it's not so much the words you say, it's where it comes from and the emotion that you send the message with. But that's not always the case, and sometimes your words catch you. I would tell you that we had when the Black Lives Matter movement first began years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now. Our players didn't know really what position to take on the whole issue. They weren't well enough informed. We didn't know much. We were just learning. This was in the early days. I mean, then weeks into it. And I called an old friend, Dr. Harry Edwards, who has been a socially active leader in our community for his whole life. And he was somebody that I met through the time I was at the 49ers. And we were friends, and I said, hey, Doc, we've got a problem here. Can you come up and speak to our guys and spend some time with us and give us some perspective so that we can move ahead with some certainty? Well, the point there is that you don't know. Sometimes you just don't know. You got a feeling about things, and you got a sense for stuff, but you need to work at acquiring information, doing your background, reaching out, educating yourself so that you can speak from a perspective that has some grounding. And the interesting thing in that meeting, when Dr. Edwards came in, he made a point. He said, "No, look, let's start this thing off with some ground rules." He said, "Not everybody's going to say the right thing, they're exactly politically correct, and then quite often, if you get into the real topics, you're going to say some things that might even offend some people. But in this environment, let us start with the thought that you got to give a brother some slack, and you got to give us some room for erring in our speaking, so that you can feel free to try. Because if we're afraid, you can't function, And so in that we worked to create an environment where you could feel free and vulnerable to speak your heart and speak from your experience and share your thoughts. Otherwise, you don't have a chance to get to the places you could possibly go.